Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of News of the Pews, where you can count on unapologetic 2A advocacy. Gun rights are human rights. And no matter how some companies in the gun industry pay lip service to gun rights, not many of them are willing to put their money where their mouth is, like CMMG, who just posted a public letter affirming their policy of refusing to sell anything to cops in banned states if they can't sell that same thing to regular people in that state. That means if a cop in California wants a CMMG gun, it's gonna have a fin grip, pinned magwell, bubble wrap, or whatever ridiculous crap they need to comply with unconstitutional laws in that blighted place. The only way CMMG is willing to sell normal featured rifles to officers in a banned state is if their chief law enforcement officer for that area makes a public statement vowing not to enforce those gun laws, which is, of course, incredibly based. So here's what I want you guys to do. Call up the manufacturer of your go-to rifle, whether that's your home defense carbine or hunting rifle or end-of-the-world rifle, whatever. Tell them what you bought from them. Tell them you like it. Then ask them if they would like you to buy another one or to tell people at the range positive things about their company. Tell them what CMMG did. Tell them how impressed you were with CMMG and how impressed you would be with them if they followed CMMG's example, and how disappointed you would be if you found out they do business with cops in states where lay people aren't allowed to buy those products. Because as much as I respect CMMG for taking a principled stand, even if it costs them money, they're not big enough on their own to move the needle much. But with several other manufacturers on board, it could apply some real pressure. Apes together strong. But hey, it would be impossible for me to produce quality 2A propaganda without you. That's right, I don't have any sponsors, so I literally could not make this content without your support. So if you are in a comfortable place in life, please consider supporting this channel by purchasing one of these sick t-shirts for just $15. Or maybe one of these rad stickers, mugs, or magnets is more your speed. But whether you buy merch or donate directly at the links down there in the doobly-doo, your help is what keeps this thing going, and I am incredibly grateful for your generous support. But if you're not in a comfortable place, please don't feel pressured. You don't owe anyone else a thing. Just enjoy this 2A propaganda at the price of free 99 and continue to pray for us. Not too long ago, I told you about how Harmeet Dhillon threatened to sue California if they don't agree not to enforce their Glock ban. Well, the walking chemical peel running the California DOJ said bet. So the United States DOJ filed a lawsuit against California and robbed Bonta in his official capacity. They're leaning on a common use argument, saying the state has no business banning a gun in such common use for lawful purposes. But what's really fun is they're also taking on the not unsafe handgun roster, which has kept Calistani subjects from buying modern handguns for quite some time now. If you're not familiar, the roster is a list of handguns that can legally be sold in California. To get on the list, the manufacturer has to submit their design to an independent lab that tests it for drop safety, and it has to have a whole list of features such as a loaded chamber indicator and whatnot. If it's added to the list, that means 3 other handguns have to come off the roster. But I haven't even gotten to the best part yet. See, cops are exempt from the roster. They can buy any handgun they want. And remember, this isn't a feature ban. The state is claiming these off-roster handguns are dangerous. Still not the best part yet, though.
But wait, there's more.
It is still perfectly legal for cops to sell one of these terrifying, dangerous off-roster guns to a person who is not a cop. Of course, it is still a federal crime for cops to buy guns with the intent of selling them on the secondary market, but the scarcity of off-roster guns makes the practice extremely lucrative, and the fact that the thin blue line can be counted on to cover such crimes means the risks are negligible, so the practice is widespread. Now, I dare you to come up with something more Californian than that, except possibly writing an exemption to the minimum wage law to let your buddy who owns Panera Bread off the hook. But the DOJ didn't stop there. They also filed suit against Virginia for their assault weapons ban, which is exactly the sort of thing that should have been happening throughout Trump's first term. I don't know what made him do the 180. I'm glad he did it, But I can't help but think how much ass we could have kicked if he started in his first term. I also can't help but think about how he might have been able to win that second election if he hadn't screwed us over the first time around, but in any case, we're here now, and I'm glad Spam Blondie got the boot too. And finally, the Supreme Court has granted certiorari for Viramontes versus Cook County and Grant versus Higgins, which are cases challenging assault weapon bans in Cook County, Illinois, and Connecticut, respectively. The court combined both cases into one single question. Does the Second and 14th Amendments protect AR-15 platform and similar semi-automatic rifles that are in common use by law-abiding citizens? Counsel for each side in both cases will work with their counterparts and will likely split oral argument time. Those arguments will probably be presented in December, and we may see a ruling by this time next year. But the $64,000 question is, how will they rule? Well, as you gentlefolk know, I'm not a lawyer because I don't even know what puppy meat tastes like. But based on the makeup of the court and previous rulings, I think they're likely to rule against the bans. And the fact that they narrowed that question to simply, are ARs protected, means they have little opportunity to get lost in the weeds about how the bans are implemented. Now, that doesn't mean that there is no opportunity to squeak out a narrow ruling. They certainly could decide that only those specific bans are bad and that any other ban would have to be reviewed independently. But I'm leaning towards a somewhat broad ruling against bans on firearm types in general. If I'm wrong, feel free to call me on it in a year. Well, folks, rounds complete on 2, but before I get to your moment of completion, I'd like to remind you this program was made possible by contributions from the William H. Crocker Foundation, Ozark Pilgrim, SquirtedGlizzys, and viewers like you. I love you.